Hello everybody, welcome back to my review of the Perfect Grade RX178 Gundam Mark II. Let's get to the parts. The head unit to the Mark II at first glance looks awesome. I love the curvature of the head as well as some of the sharp angles on the V-fin and the jewel, as well as the chin and the face guard. That looks really, really sharp. Now, like most Master Grade kits of today, and remind you, this is an 11 or 12-year-old kit, and this was way back when it was considered legendary. There is light piping through the eyes that will extend back into the upper camera and the back camera. So when you light this up with the LED gimmick, you will get a light not just in the eyes, but also up in the camera and the rear camera. The head is on a ball joint, and because it can be a little complicated, the neck piece, connecting the neck piece together with these wires sticking out, I decided to leave the back end of this undone until I actually go back there and join it. This will rotate 360 degrees. I wonder how that's going to work when it's all put together. But when this connects to the body, this is actually connected on a peg, so you can't quite call it a double ball joint. The ball joint goes into the top of the head, but the remaining piece on the bottom is actually a peg. So you want to be careful when you're removing the head from the torso. I haven't had any problems, but you just want to better be safer than sorry. Other than the fantastic lighting gimmick, which I haven't gotten to just yet, if you patiently open these in the back and you're very careful about it, you'll expose these panels. And this is where they'll go and do the maintenance to the Mark II, and I guess they wanted to pull off that gimmick, and if you look in there, you'll see some panels as well as the vents to the head, which has some fantastic detail, and you could pull camera hood up like this, and it really just adds that much more charm to the accuracy and the good looks of the inner frame and the model itself. Now, unfortunately with the head, it doesn't offer very many panel lining appearances. You get one, perhaps, on the jewel itself, and a couple on the sides of the head here, but other than that, it goes with the streamlined look, and you're not going to get that much of an opportunity with this dark color. Now, the chest unit is looking good despite some of the pain-in-the-ass efforts to get it together. Some of the front chest armor doesn't quite fit properly. It will fit, but it doesn't match up perfectly with the hood covers here, which do move up to reveal inner detail that's covered up by the rest of the armor. And really, all the nice detail is in the inner frame, and it looks fantastic. And you want to be careful putting this together, because for the front vents, I've already broken off 2 pegs, and that'll have to be cemented during the final assembly. It's not a big deal, because they slide into place anyways, but you really want to be careful when assembling this model, and you want to pay attention to what you're doing. So all this inner detail in here, I'm going to paint individually. It's going to look really awesome, change a couple colors. The collar looks okay, but the pegs in the top, you'll see 3 of them right here. They're kind of, I guess they're kind of tabs. I'm not really crazy about them. What you can do is take paint across those tabs and make it look different. So if you're a painter, it's not a big deal, but out of the box, it might be a concern. I do like the opening cockpit hatch. All you do is move this down and out, and of course it might pop off, and it'll reveal part of the inner ball cockpit system in there, and I'm not going to get my finger in there right now. And before you do that, you want to take the center of the chest piece, pull it out a little bit, very gently, because I've already broken a peg in there too, and lift it up, and it should go over a little bit over the collar. And you want to be really careful when you assemble that, because I have broken a couple pieces in there. So just watch what you're doing, and you shouldn't have any problems. And then you'll be able to lower the cockpit unit, and that'll let you get your finger in there to raise the door up, reveal a small pilot on the inside. Now, part of the lighting gimmick in here as well, and you'll see wires coming out the back, is that the cockpit lights up. And the instructions don't uniquely call for a schematic. So what I'm going to do, there are 2 LEDs in this. If we're talking, forget about the Gundam for a second, we're going to talk a little bit of electrical engineering here. There are 2 LEDs, and there are 2 battery sources. They both equal 3 volts. I think they're LR48 watch batteries, or the LR32. They're just watch batteries, and they add up to 3 volts. Now, if you were to wire these 2 LEDs in series, each of them, they're going to take the total voltage and divide by 2. So one LED will get 1.5 volts, the other LED will get 1.5 volts. Well, I've tried that across a AA battery, and they don't light up. So which means that you have to wire them in parallel, which means both are going to take the 3 volts, but the battery is going to be drained faster than it would be in series. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm not going to show the cockpit off that often, I'm going to place an additional switch in here so that the cockpit light can be turned off. That means that there will still be 3 volts going to the LED for the eyes and the camera lights, but nothing will be going through to the circuit part that's in the cockpit, and that will save, not only save battery life, but will be more convenient for me in the future. The internal structure is on a ball joint, and speaking of internal structure, let me take off outer armor, and something you want to be careful about, and this is the most pain in the ass part of the entire model. These vent covers, since all the armor is there's a little bit of pressure and tension going on in here, if you're not careful, these vent covers will just pop off at the tip of a hat. They'll go flying. So I will probably cement those on top of the front armor pieces here when that's done and everything's painted, and they shouldn't be going anywhere. And speaking of the vents, all these vents were a major pain to get in there because they're so, well, despite this being such a big scale, parts are so tiny, and I've got fat thumbs, they all move, and that's really fantastic. And there's even detail behind these vent pieces, and that is awesome. Alright, so I took most of the armor off, and again, for the front armor and the back armor, it isn't like current master grades where there's a rib that fits into a slot, and it's really easy to put on and take off armor. The reason I left the front panel here on top of the cockpit is because that is a royal pain in the keister to get back on there, and I'm not looking forward to taking that off for painting and putting it back on. But you'll notice all the really nice inner detail in here that I'm going to have to paint. You'll also notice the part where I've already snapped off 2 of the pegs, and that'll have to be cemented. You will see all of the wires, the tubing, all that fun stuff that I'm going to paint different colors. And it was molded in a plastic that was different colors, and I'm probably going to make all the colors homogeneous. And you'll also notice over here on the sides, and this also goes for the other side of the arms, that this is on a pivot that's also on pistons. So if you move the arm up, these pistons will go up and down, and that is absolutely fantastic. And another nice thing about this is when you want to go up and paint it, it's already masked by the outside of the hydraulic tubes. And that'll just cover it, and you could just paint the bottom here and be done with it. So when you move it, you'll see the exposed chrome, and that is fantastic. You'll also see the cockpit system in here, which is made up of a couple of different parts, and there are more hydraulic tubes out here that I haven't yet connected or assembled until I go into the final model. And you'll notice the cockpit system is like a ball, and what happens is there is an actual ejection system for these Gundam models, and I believe they're in the Zaku's as well, that when the Gundam's destroyed, you can eject. And the reason that the cockpit is red in color is because they want to be able to find you when you eject. And they've actually done that in Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, where someone's ejected. I think it was out of a Rick Dios, and there was a round ball cockpit, and they will go and rescue you. That's really fantastic. You can see all of the panel lines that they scribed out when they molded this plastic. There's tubing, there's hosing. It's all going to take a while to paint up, and this is, of course, on a ball joint. That'll wrap up my look at both the head and the upper torso. I don't want to take too long on these videos, limit them to maybe 8 or 10 minutes, because I know everybody's time is valuable and so is mine. So next time we'll look at the lower waist and the limbs. See you then.